So in this video, I'd like to just take stock for a moment and point you towards an exercise that you can do to embed all the ideas that we've spoken about in the last few videos. So if you can go to the additional resources and download the exercise called Reevaluating the Past. And this is actually an extended version of what I took you through a few videos ago. So what I'd like you to do is to pick some kind of negative emotion that is currently plaguing you. Something that you feel, perhaps it's on a daily basis or a weekly basis, or maybe it's just every now and again. Something that you would like to learn from and then move beyond. Now, I would recommend that you pick, again, no major therapy issues, no mummy took the spoon away when I was 5. Pick roughly around about a 5 or a 6 out of 10. However, I am going to assume that you are a responsible adult, so if you want to go for something more powerful, then that's entirely up to you. I will leave that in your own hands, but my recommendation is to pick a 5 or a 6 out of a 10. Because you're still just getting to grips with the idea. You're familiarising yourself with the technique. So you want to pick the emotion. You can write down how you describe the emotion if you like. You can put a label on it. Then I'd like you to select some kind of linked past experience. So this is a time in your past where you've felt that emotion. Now, just to let you know, if we were doing a therapy session, then I would generally guide you back to the very first time that you experienced that emotion. And often that can be quite young. I'm not suggesting that you do this for this technique. That would be what I would do for a therapy session. But for the purposes of this technique, then I would suggest that you just pick some kind of recent experience where you felt that negative emotion. Then spend some time just very briefly stepping into that negative experience, that past memory or internal representation you have of it. And again, I want you just to step in just a little bit, so don't dive in there and spend, literally 20 minutes in this bad experience. You've been feeling bad for long enough. So just step in just so that you get a sense of what it actually feels like. Then I'd like you to step out and, of course, dissociate. So you can, inside your mind, step out and imagine walking away so that you can look back on that experience. You can, of course, also double dissociate or even pan the camera back even further. By the way, as an alternative to all the different ways of dissociating that I've spoken about so far, you can actually involve physical movement. So some people like to do this inside their mind purely, but you can actually do it inside your mind and also involve your body. So you could perhaps place a space in the floor where you step into this past experience. Then when you're dissociating, you can actually step out of the space, and I mean physically, and walk to the other side of your room or wherever it is that you are, and then look back from that different location in space. And often just by embodying the dissociation, by bringing in physicality, then it can actually help you really become just that little bit more removed from the experience. So you want to do that until you start to lessen the emotions, until the intensity starts to really lessen and potentially almost disappear from the feelings inside your body. Then when you're in that place, when the emotional response has lessened, you just want to look on and go, isn't that interesting? So you want to move on to step 5. And this is where you look on and you start to reevaluate. And when you're doing this, you can perhaps ask some questions just to assist you with this reevaluation process. You can ask, okay, so what could be a more useful learning here? It's quite clear that I've bought into some kind of learning that's causing me to feel this way, but what could be a more useful learning to learn here? Another question to ask is, what could be a more accurate learning? You know, when you look back through older and wiser eyes, what is really going on here? What did you miss, perhaps because there was so much drama and so much emotion going on? But when you look at it through older, wiser, and more observant eyes, what would be a more accurate description about what actually went on here? What is a more fair assessment? And just notice what comes from within. Again, you don't necessarily want to force this. You just want to go through the exploration and notice what comes from within. Just be honest with yourself. Another question is, how could this potentially benefit me in the future? So how could this new learning, this new way of understanding this situation actually benefit me moving forward? How can it enrich and enhance my own development? And then once you've done that, you simply want to reflect on the new learning, the new meaning, the new idea that you've started to appreciate, whatever that is. Spend a portion of time just considering it, reflecting it, and then feeling it. So what I'd like you to do is, if you can just download this now from the additional resources, have fun with this, enjoy it, learn from it, become curious, and hopefully move beyond those negative emotions. And when you're ready, I'll see you in the next video.